Welcome back to the Commissioner's Corner. I am still Scott Vargo, and I am still joined by 3 county commissioners, Thomas, Elizabeth, and Karn. Segment 2, we're going to talk about what has been a legitimate full-on winter this winter. So I'm going to turn it over to Karn to talk about all things winter.
Well, it has been a legitimate winter. We've always loved that in Summit County, but it's been historic portions of snow. And I was talking about our backdrop. Our backdrop was done before the last few weeks. Otherwise, it would be pure white with avalanche chutes. It's been really exciting and also scary. And so far, we've been really lucky. There have been a few deaths in Colorado in avalanches, but we've had so many close calls here in Summit County. So thank you, everyone, for being cautious and careful. We have gone from extreme down to considerable avalanche danger. That still means you need to be an expert if you're getting out in the backcountry. You need to know what you're doing.
Or just don't go.
Don't go. But if you're just here, I think I'll go try it. No, don't do it. It's still really dangerous out there. And secondly, I want to commend all of our snowplow drivers. Yes. From CDOT to the towns to the county. They have been working overtime so hard. So when you're frustrated by the snow or that snowplow driver, just appreciate them. Smile and wave.
Yeah, they've done a great job.
They've done incredible work.
And they apologize for the berm at the end of your driveway. But when there's this much snow, there's going to be a berm at the end of your driveway. That's just the way that it works. So they're not doing anything intentional or to cause you more back pain. But again, there is a lot of snow out there. You guys want to talk a little bit about maybe the road conditions themselves, the potholes and things like that we're seeing? Again, tough year because of the way the weather has been cycling with just above freezing, just below freezing, pretty much on and off every other day.
I think we should do a segment here in the summer with our road and bridge and the engineers, and they can explain that freeze thaw because it is so difficult and it happens so quickly. And this last week with the storm, not only were we getting just biblical amounts of snow, we were also getting really warm temperatures too. And that was causing a lot of our roads just to degrade very quickly in front of us. And so we do have a number of new potholes across the county in our towns. And so the best way to avoid that is just to ask people to slow down a little bit. And, you know, they're trying to get out there and get those filled and taken care of. If there's something really terrible, you know, reach out, let us know so that we can let our staff, because sometimes these literally pop up in minutes, and we don't know about them because we're not driving all the roads all the time. So.
And I would encourage people, as Elizabeth said, slow down and pay attention and look at the road ahead of you so you don't get shocked out of your seat in your car because you hit some giant pothole.
Absolutely.
So just pay attention as you're out there and try to be cautious and courteous with other drivers around as you maybe swerve it around just a little bit to try to avoid certain messes. And then again, it is the towns, it's the county, it's the state highways, federal highways. They're everywhere. And so just be paying attention and be alert out there.
I gotta say, right now, I'm feeling pretty good about that giant snowblower that we bought a year ago, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Boy, do we have that just in time.
Yeah. And speaking of that, so snow piles, that's the other thing that if, again, as you're driving around, as you're walking around, however you're getting around towns and the county, pay attention, because it is really difficult in certain places to see around and know when you should be jumping out onto the road or not. So take your time and pay attention. At my house in Frisco, fortunately the town of Frisco had come by just yesterday, I think it was, and came by with the loader and cleared the end of the driveway. So instead of it being just barely enough to get a car out of, it's now enough to get a car and a half out of. So there's a little bit more visibility, but there are a lot of those piles that are getting really, really tight.
And they're going to be there for a little while.
They will. And just a reminder, both from Red, White, and Blue and Summit Fire EMS, they're asking people to adopt a hydrant to get out there and make sure that they shovel out hydrants in their neighborhood. And I think people forget forget about those, especially when we have so much snow coming down. We take it for granted, and we're not really thinking fire in the winter. It can still happen, especially with our visitors that are coming. And so I know that I've seen some great photos online the past few days of children that were getting out and shoveling out hydrants and whatnot. But make sure you know where those are in your neighborhood around Summit County and take care of that.
That's great advice, and that reminds me, and also shovel out your gas meters on your house so that those don't freeze up and cause some other trouble. So make sure that those are clear of snow, and hopefully you don't have giant icicles hanging up above them as well, and make sure those are protected. So all right, well, that's really good stuff. Anything else about winter weather?
I just have a good segue to talk about legislation.
Okay, fire away.
And that is, thank you to the Summit County voters for actually passing within our county ballot measure 110. Unfortunately, it did not pass statewide. So CDOT is going to be struggling with all these maintenance issues and just plain old potholes are a big part of their budget. And we have a number of projects that we were hoping to get moving forward. It's going to be a lot slower because that didn't pass statewide.
Yeah, and we'll see what the state legislature comes up with regards to some funding around transportation. They're certainly have conversations and discussions underway about that, freeing up some amount of money. And so hopefully something will come out of this session, and we'll be, as Summit County, be high enough on the priority list to be able to capture some of those dollars for projects here locally. Thomas, you want to talk about a couple of the legislative items that are of key importance to us?
So one of the most important to us is the stuff that Dan Gibbs had been working on for the last couple of years with a bunch of different people from across the West Slope with regards to trying to improve the issues around healthcare, particularly how expensive it is to sign up on the exchange, right, for the ACA coverage. Our brand new Representative Julie McCluskey is carrying the Reinsurance Bill that will in part allow for the Commissioner of Insurance to do rate setting when it comes to these plans so that we can see improvements in those costs. We had a whole contingent from Summit County that went down to the Capitol and testified on reinsurance. And so it got out of committee, and it is proceeding through the House. We'll have to do it all over again once it gets over onto the Senate side. But man, this is a lot of work. So I'm missing Dan Gibbs right now because he would have been doing all of this. Julie McCluskey's doing a great job as one of the co-primes of this bill, and we're really excited to see that move forward. The other interesting thing that has already gotten through the legislative process and is now awaiting the governor's signature is a new bill that would allow for local jurisdictions to work together to ask voters to consider local taxes on products containing nicotine. And one of the things that's interesting, Summit County particularly has challenges when it comes to youth and vaping. And so one thing that we have sort of informally been kicking around is the idea of, well, we could work together, the towns in the county, and then perhaps what we could do with some of that funding if voters voted yes on taxing nicotine products would be to turn around and do better outreach and education with youth on all of this vaping that's going on. So we haven't made any decisions yet, right? This has all just happened here in the last week or so, but more to come on this one, I think.
It was a piece of legislation that went through really very rapidly at the state level. I think we were a little bit surprised at the pace that it went through. And again, more conversations locally amongst the county and the towns to talk about the issues and to talk about what this might look like in Summit County.
Right. There have been a few communities that are home rule towns that went ahead and taxed nicotine products. And so there's a little bit to look at out there, but counties have never had this ability, so that's what's important about this bill is it would allow counties for the first time to contemplate something like this, and it certainly allows all of the towns and Summit County to, form some sort of an IGA and work together. And that's what I would imagine that we would be doing.
Yep.
That's what I would hope we would be doing, right? And then agreeing collectively on what should these funds go towards. It should certainly go towards educating youth with regards to all of the issues around nicotine and vaping and all that. Some amount of money probably should go towards just enforcing the prohibition on sale of nicotine products to kids that are under 18. The other thing that this allows, it allows us to contemplate whether or not the minimum age should be raised from 18 to 21. So lots of different things that we have to sort our way through, I think, together.
Absolutely.
And the motivation is there. Colorado leads the nation. It's really high up there as far as youth using vaping products and what's now known as juuling, which are the USB looking vaping tools. But Summit County is really high in the state of Colorado, which really surprised many of us until we saw the data, because we think we live in such a healthy place. But our youth obviously have a lot of access to these products.
Yeah.
And the industry's done a great job of marketing to our youth.
Yep. All right, so much more to come on that one. Elizabeth, you want to talk? So we have a new congressional representative, Jonah Goose, taking over Jared Polis's position. I know you and Thomas met with Joe, Congressman or Representative Neguse.
Yeah.
Couple of weeks ago. Do you want to talk a little bit about that meeting?
He I think it was kind of his first big tour back from Washington, D.C. And if you turn on CNN any given night, you'll probably see him. He's intended to get a lot of press thus far. So it's great to have him representing Summit County out of Congressional District 2. And he's really... I think feels committed to Summit County, which is wonderful, and immediately asked how he could help. And so they're looking at a possible transportation bill. And if so, if that passed in Congress, what would we want to do with that money? Thomas immediately said, we need a new transit center. He had an answer right away, which is wonderful. I think we can prove, and we have so many visitors here that use our transit system, and we're in a rural community. It would be great for our locals, so that would be wonderful. We also talked with him about some wildfire issues that we're having. And
You got natural resources, right?
That's right. He's on the Natural Resources Committee, which is huge, and obviously important to us here in Summit County. And so how we work with the Forest Service and some different things. And so our staff is putting together a packet of some issues that we might have, and we're going to present that to him and see what can be done. But it's really nice that he immediately came to Summit County, and I feel like his staff has really done a great job with outreach to us, and I know that they're thinking of Summit County and Washington.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Thomas, anything to add?
Really good meeting with Joe, and he's super eager, and as Elizabeth said, he got judiciary, he got natural resources, and he's also one of the young leaders on leadership, and so he's not just any freshman congressman. He is plugged in, and oh man, when we met with him, he was just so eager. He was there with his clipboard and his pen, and he's just writing down everything that we're talking about. It was kind of like, okay, this is feeling pretty good. Right. So I think that we're going to see a lot of good stuff come out of Jonah Goose.
Yeah, he has a voice.
Right.
We've learned.
Yeah, great. Karin, anything to add?
It's great to have him.
Okay.
It's exciting.
All right. I think that wraps us up for March, and so we'll probably be back in April.
Great. Let's hope so.